Welcome to the first episode of a series where I talk about my experiences as a stand up comic. Henry, I'm not a real person, writes, how do you know if stand up comedy is for you? And did you hear my voice crack? A real person, because it did. I didn't find out about stand up comedy till I was in my 30s, which is super old. I felt less like this guy and way more like this guy. Every time I walked into an open mic, I felt like that meme, Steve Buscemi. When I did try it out, I loved it, and I realized that it was always a component of all the jobs and all the things I liked to do previously. Like, I used to be a copywriter and a journalist, and stand-up comedy is in both. Copywriters are basically wannabe stand-up comics. If you look at print ads, and billboards, magazine, print ads. It's just classic stand-up comedy structure. You have the setup, which is straight, and then you have a twist or a surprise ending, which is the joke. Like, here's some examples of my work I've done previously. It's just classic one-liners. And when I was a journalist, I worked as a lifestyles editor at the McMaster newspaper, and I had a weekly column, and that was the thing I looked forward to most. The weekly column was basically a funny anecdote about my life, family, dating, relationship stuff, which is exactly what my stand-up comedy is right now. Once I actually found stand-up comedy, I realized that it was everything that I liked about my other jobs, but in its purest form. Like, it didn't deal with all the parts I didn't like. Talking to people, going to an office, having clients decide on what you can say or what we should do. And I just fell in love with it. But I didn't even think stand-up comedy was an option because I'm a shy, introverted person. And that does not matter. I have learned that doesn't matter. There's lots of shy, introverted comics that I look up to who are amazing. Like Dave Chappelle, when he first did stand-up comedy, I heard him tell a story where he didn't even look up from his shoes. His whole set, he was looking down, looking at his shoes, too scared to see what the audience was going to be like. And at the end of his set, he briefly looked up and saw them smiling, and he just gave a smirk. But it doesn't matter. So I think my advice to know if stand-up comedy is for you is if you just list the positives, list what you think you are good at, and if it aligns with stand-up comedy, if you're a good writer or you're observant or you make people laugh, that's enough. And the stuff that you think is a negative and why you shouldn't do stand-up comedy, you might find out that it does not even matter, or you could fix those things. You can get over them. I got over being terribly nervous walking onto stage. I used that energy. Shyness could be a plus if it's part of your character or persona on stage. Just think of the positives. Don't worry about the negatives. If there's enough positives in your head and you really want to do it and you're passionate, then I say go for it. So do you think you might want to get into stand-up comedy? Tell me in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe, and I hope if you feel like you want to try it, that you do.